You had said something to me earlier that this technology, in a way, is actually better than med beds. Can you explain that, if you don't mind?
Yes, thank you. I was going to bring that up. So, when I was watching the interview with Dr. Sandra and Jason, one thing they had mentioned actually was that I think she described the system like almost like a med bed on steroids. And
Hmm.
the reason she said that was with a med bed, we can only heal one person at a time. Where with our units, whether it's 16 or 24, 32, whatever, we can literally put 100 people or more in a room at once and heal hundreds of people at a time. So I feel that this technology is way beyond.
Well, good evening, folks. We got a very different show for you. See, to me, owning XRP is very important, but being healthy when I get to my XRP, when it finally matures, is equally as important. That's why we got Maria Schiavelli. Maria Schiavelli sounds Italian. I think she's Italian. Okay, she's got a place where you can get healed with these machines that were invented by who? None other than Sandra Michael Rose. Dr. Sandra Michael Rose and I did a podcast which sat on my computer for about 2 months, and they said, please do not release it because we're so backed up, and if you throw it out there, it's probably going to back us up some more. So I respected their wishes, and I actually released it just a couple of days ago. She owns a place called Awaken Energy Lab in Lehi, Utah. You might want to go visit her because it's not the machines that heal you. The machines do not heal you. The machines just make your cells feel like at home, and the cells start to produce other healthy cells, and it's the body that heals the body. How did you get into this, Maria? What did you, I mean, did you see a video? Did you read about something? And you said, hey, this sounds like something I want to do. I know you said you wanted to get into healing. How did this all come about? Tell us the story, please.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mel. I so appreciate it. So where do I begin? I got married very, very young. My whole life, I have attracted, for whatever reason, very narcissistic individuals. Love them dearly, but I don't feel, I think we all have narcissistic tendencies, if you will. I grew up in an Italian home like you did. My dad and I butted heads a lot. We're just two very strong willed people, if you will. So I ended up with the wrong guy when I was 18, but maybe he turned out to be the right guy because I have a beautiful, healthy daughter from that experience. So not to get too far back, but I kept attracting narcissistic type individuals in friendships, relationships. I had an on and off again relationship with someone after my divorce for 5 years that for whatever reason, it was like this hole, like I couldn't get out of it kind of thing. And I know what the reason is now, but it caused a lot of trauma and psychological damage, if you will. So, and also to back up a little bit, before that relationship, in my marriage, who I was with for 14, I was with for 18 years and married for 14. We had a son who was born with a very severe heart defect. It was a genetics, they say, defect. So we both had genetics tests. We were concerned that if we have another child, this could happen again. They said neither of us were carrying the gene, so we had another child. But back up a little bit, my son Chandler had a very severe heart defect. He needed open heart surgery at 2 weeks old. We did a medical transport to Denver. Excuse me, we lived in Denver at the time, and we had a medical transport to Lucille Packard Children's Hospital in California. We were there for 30 days. We lived out of a hotel in our suitcase, wondering when we were going to get to go back home. Finally went back home, back on the medical transport after his open heart surgery, only to find out that the repair was actually failing. And we had probably the best surgeon in the country, if not the world, but it wasn't working. It was just too strong of a defect. So we had an option. It was either put him on the heart transplant list or continue surgeries throughout his life, which there's a lot of risks with both of those things. Transplant is not a cure. So another thing with transplant is you have to be on anti-rejection meds forever. Well, they say you do. I don't know. I've had reoccurring dreams of my son with me forgetting to give him his meds, and he's perfectly healthy. And I've had these reoccurring dreams of taking him into the cardiologist, being afraid that they're going to find out I wasn't giving him his medications, but he's perfectly healthy in my dream. So I don't know, you know. So I lost Chandler. Chandler passed on to another realm when he was 4. And that was very difficult. I went one way. I took care of Chandler. I was in the hospital with him every time he had a rejection with his heart. I'm not putting myself on a pedestal, but I was doing what I had to do to keep my son alive. While I was doing that, my husband, who I gave all of my 401k to start a Big O tire store, was heavy into drugs. And he got on that because he couldn't handle what was going on. So that was really, and the interesting thing was I didn't know what was going on. I wasn't really paying attention because I was so focused on keeping Chandler alive. I didn't know what he was doing. You know, merchandise was going out the back door in order for him to supply his drug habit. We ended up losing the store. We ended up losing our house. I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, Lauren, who's now almost 15. And when I had her 6 weeks later is when I found out what he was actually into. And so I instantly became a single parent, got a permanent restraining order and a divorce, pretty much like that. Everything inside of me told me that was the answer. I had a lot of judgmental people around me telling me, why are you doing this? He needs help. He didn't want the help. He didn't want the help. He even brought home paperwork from his classes. He'd fill in the answer and it said, you know, when do you think you might want to stop doing drugs? And the answer he'd write down is never, I love it.
Wow.
So that was my answer, right? I couldn't have this around my daughter. So I was spending my evenings with my brother, who's an ex-Marine, a 44 under my bed, because I didn't know who he owed money to, who was going to end up on my doorstep. My brother moved in with me. So this caused a lot of trauma to my body, you know, stuff that created a lot of anxiety, PTSD, just stuff that I knew I needed to heal from because I had a kid to take care of. I had to take care of my daughter. And I found myself starting to drink 2 to 4 glasses of wine every night just to sleep because of the anxiety, waking up at 2 in the morning with my heart palpitating because of the sugar metabolizing after drinking all the alcohol, and then stopping myself and going, oh my God, I can't do this. I have to take care of this child. She's 6 months old. So that's what kind of started my journey as to, I didn't want to do the pharmaceutical route. I wanted to do things naturally, and that's why I started getting on this path of holistic healing. I had done many different types of modalities over the last 15 years. I've tried just about everything, acupuncture. I became I got my yoga certification and my meditation certification, not to teach necessarily, but just for my own healing. So yeah, so here I am, fast forward 15 years later, single parent, beautiful almost 15-year-old daughter who I can count probably on one hand how many times she's actually been sick. And, you know, it's been a struggle. It's not been easy. I've had a lot against me as far as really no family support. Ex-mother-in-law who was also, you know, she probably gave me more grief than my ex-husband because there was always, you know, if she was going to help me with Lauren, there was always going to be a catch, you know, like I was going to have to put up with poor behavior or whatever. So I found myself feeling very alone. And sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night with my heart just palpitating, just feeling like I was so alone. Then I started learning about meditation. Meditation is what has saved me because I learned how to become, I remember when I was in yoga teacher training, sorry, my dog's squeaking on his toy over here, having a good When I was in yoga teacher training, I thought I was going to die one day when she said, we're going to do an hour meditation. And I thought, there's just no way. An hour. So we did that. And then I became more, and like the feeling from it, and just the black and escaping from everything and going totally inside. All of a sudden, I was realizing that from doing this regularly, it was a perpetual thing. It didn't happen on day one. A lot of people say, oh, I can't meditate because I can't sit still, or I have ADHD or whatever. And my answer is always like, well, that's why you need to meditate. That's the whole purpose. And you're not going to get it perfect from day one, but it's a practice. And I would practice and I would practice and I would practice. And what I realized, what I found over time, is that I was getting the same relief that somebody would get from an anti-anxiety medication naturally, from getting connected to source, or whatever you want to call it, God, source, energy. And it calmed me. And I started noticing that if I did not do it, let's say for 2 or 3 days in a row, I would go back to feeling anxiety ridden all over again. So I had a choice. It was like, either sit down and meditate and close your eyes, or don't do it and be miserable. That was basically it. So I started doing that regularly. I attended Dr. Joe Dispenza's week-long advanced workshop last April, where I did meditations for an entire week. It was amazing. When I came home, I manifested some amazing things in my real estate business. I was just completely blown away. And so I started talking to one of my girlfriends who I've known for over 25 years. She's in Denver. I'm in Utah right now. And we have the same passion, which is holistic healing. And we just started talking out loud, like, hey, have you heard of the med beds? Do you know if they're going to come out? I wonder when they're coming out. And we're having this conversation about med beds and healing. She's like, we just really need to put our minds together and put together some sort of a center, like some sort of a healing center. We could do baths, we could do massage, we could do essential oils. We're trying to, coming up with all these ideas. And I want to say a week later is when, I don't know how I saw it or what made me look at it, but it just came to me. I saw Jason Circa and Dr. Sandra Rose Michaels interview on YouTube. And like, there was no question. As soon as I saw it, I knew this is exactly what I asked for. It found me. I sent it to my friend Lisa. Wasn't expecting her to really say anything. She texts me back the next day and she goes, this is it. And she's opening one in Denver right now.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. So basically, your whole entire drama, the stress that it caused on your personal body, caused you to go into meditation classes, etc., and then seeking, holistic healing, and boom, voila, I came across the video with Shirka when it had like 27, 28 hits, literally when it came out, because I was already part of his channel. So I get the, you get the, hit the bell and it notifies you. So I knew immediately. And I sent it out to everybody in our Telegram group, and it just literally caught fire.
Right.
Yeah, that was powerful. So what are your clients' experience? I know you sent me a couple of testimonies that are powerful that we're going to actually splice into this video for the audience. Tell us a little bit about the experiences that some of your clients are having. Tell us about, I think you got a client there that sounds like she's there at the location every day. She's telling me that she's saying that the hair's turning back to brown color, etc. Talk to us about that for a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So I met a woman here where I live in Lehi. I live just a few minutes away from our center. And we connected. It was another divine intervention, kind of like I believe yours and mine was. We just became instant friends, have a lot in common. And she had been to a center a couple of times before. She actually is opening a center in the St. Louis area because she travels back and forth from here to St. Louis because she owns a flea market in St. Louis. And that's where all of her family and her friends are. So she goes back and forth every month. So she's partnering with someone there to open a center. But while she's here in Lehi, she's assisting me at my center. So she's, there when I can't be there, kind of thing. So it's really a perfect situation. But anyway, Anne has been going to this, she's been doing the healing with the EESystem every week for, I want to say 2 or 3 months now. And she takes her mom, and her kids have been telling her mom, your hair, it's not, she used to have a lot of gray hair. She has a little bit, but it's nothing like it was, which is telling me, like we were talking before the interview, the telomeres are lengthening. Therefore, the hair is starting to go back to its original color.
Hi, my name is Ann Farnsworth. I have been visiting a 16-unit EESystem since July with my mother, who's 86. I have seen so many beautiful results. My husband passed away last year, and I felt the grief turn into joy. I've been losing gray hair. It's been turning brown. I had a muscle that was a problem in my leg, and it works now. So very simple effects, and I know that the emotional and the spiritual is probably even more important. So I want to go visit every week for the rest of my life. I feel like it's helped me in every way. Thank you.
People have had their hair color come back. They've had their eyesight come back.
Yeah, there's so many of these testimonials all of a sudden starting to pop out, and I understand that probably by the end of October there'll be a total of about 100 locations open worldwide. Canada, the United States, predominantly. We got people literally in line. Hopefully, they can speed up productions. Yeah, the telomeres is something that was a discussion that I had specifically with Dr. Sandra Michael Rose, and she totally agrees. What did you learn about the technology that you can explain in layman's terms to the audience that caused you to say, yeah, no question, this is it. This is the avenue we need to go down. I understand you got 16 monitors. You want to upgrade to 24 at some point down the road, I guess?
Yes, we have 16 in the large room, and then we'll be adding 4 units to each of the practitioner rooms. So we could actually do about 32 if we wanted to.
Yeah, that's a powerful system. I know Shirka was recently at a 32 unit location. We had 32 units all in the same room, and they said it was radiating. You know what I mean?
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah, and he says you can actually feel something going on.
Absolutely. I could feel my whole body, my fingertips, my toes, everything. Just when I walk in the room, I can feel it.
Wow, that's just from the 16 units.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And you're in business how many days now?
2
days. That's great. That's awesome.
I've been in business. I've been a real estate agent for several years. I've been in sales marketing. That's really my niche. And then my passion is holistic healing. So the two together are perfect. But yeah, so we've had our location for 2 days.
Interesting.
Or it's been up and running for 2 days, I should say.
Hopefully we're going to send you a lot of customers. If you guys know somebody that lives near Lehi or Utah, because people have traveled little. I have a testimonial that I got to pull up that's sitting on my computer. I got to pull it. I got to find it, pull it up. My friend James Anthony, he went with his entire family. He drove 5 hours one way, drove back 5.5 hours the other way. And his daughter was complaining all the way up saying, Dad, what are we doing? Are you talking frequency healing? What are you talking about? And people say, well, I don't believe in frequency. Well, let me ask you a question. How does your radio in the car work? It works on a frequency. Okay. It's not like you have a real long extension cord, when you're driving. So frequency healing is very real. There would be no reason, for example, to get rid of Rife and the Rife machine back in the 20s if the Rife machine didn't work. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, we know that this stuff works and it's all coming out. Is there any problems going forward? I mean, I don't want to talk negative, but I want to sort of play devil's advocate, if I may, for a little bit, Maria, because I understand that Dr. Sandra Michael Rose has a tremendous amount of security around her. Okay.
Yes.
And is there any issues you think down the road that they may, the cabal may want to shut this down, or do you think they're done at this point?
I wish I knew. I wish I had a crystal ball and I could just say that we were good. I feel, honestly, this is my perspective, but for me, myself, with the amount of meditation that I do, and I spend a tremendous time in my system, I feel and I know based off of just my experiences in life that I have angelic protection all around me. So I just, when you go into the system, Dr. Sandra says you want to focus always on what you want, not what you don't want. Okay. Rather than saying, I don't want them coming after me and shutting me down, you want to say, my desire is to have my angels surround me and my business and keep us going and serving people with the highest good, the highest possible good for myself, my family, and everyone that I'm here to serve. And those are the types, and I just got the chills when I said that, because those are the types of things that I say when I'm in the system. So I do feel like there is that protection. However, I'm not naive into thinking that that could never happen. So I think it's also wise to take my own steps to, keep my business going. So it's there for people that want the healing. So I'm taking measures in order to make my business completely independent as well.
Cool. And you were talking about that you have a special that's running until the end of October or middle of October, something like that. Can you tell the public what that is?
Yeah. So through October 15th, if you come in, we recommend 2 hours or more. For a lot of people that are just starting, they'll just start with 2 hours. You don't have to sit there with your eyes open. Some people get a little nervous about that because 2 hours seems like a long time. Trust me, once you've been doing this, 2 hours will feel like nothing. You'll want to go in more and more and more, just like Anne. So when you do the service, generally 2 hours, we do recommend you can absolutely come in for an hour just to try it. But if you purchase 2 hours and you refer a friend, they don't have to necessarily come with you, but if you refer a friend and they purchase 2 hours, you will each get a third hour for free that you can use at that 2 hour session to extend it, or you can use it at a future date. You can earn as many free hours as you want. You just have to buy 2 hours and refer a friend that purchases 2 hours. And you can accumulate as many free hours as you want. The hours will never expire. You just have to have them purchased by October 15th.
Interesting. Okay, cool. And so the location, tell us about the location exactly, Lehi. Are you like on a main street or you on a side street?
We are on Main Street in Lehigh.
Oh, okay. Is that the name of the street actually?
Yeah.
It is.
It's Main Street.
See, I didn't even know that. I just
I
guessed.
know. Unless you did.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we're on Main Street, and we're kind of like, we're not in the old part where all the shops are. We're more like further up, further west. Okay. It's more of like a residential area, but there happens to be this wonderful brick house that used to be an antique store. And the woman and her husband, this was another manifestation. I was going to rent a smaller place because I wasn't thinking really big enough. And that's something I'm working on. I was going to rent a much smaller place from a woman who had a center, not this kind of a center, but a center on Main Street, which is like the older part of Main Street. But something just wasn't jiving, like it wasn't flowing. It didn't feel right for either of us. We just felt like we were trying to put a square peg into a round hole kind of deal. And I literally felt sick. My stomach and my brain were hurting. And I finally said, okay, stop. And I went into meditation and I said my prayers, just like Dr. Sandra says to do. I said, I'm giving this up. You know where I need to be, even if it's just for 6 months, if this is temporary, or if I need something different, I'm leaving this to the universe. And I let it go. That day, I got in my car to drive my daughter to her cheer practice, and a for rent sign had just gone out in front of this brick house.
And you picked it up.
That's mine now.
I love it. That's awesome.
And that's how my life works, because and I have to be very careful. I am a very strong manifester, and I have to be careful of what I think and what I say, because you can do that for positive or negative. And I've created some
Absolutely.
negative in my life. I mean, everything that's happened, I'm not a victim. I created my own relationships. I created all of those relationships in my life to learn from. And if I didn't like it, I created it. So I have to take responsibility for that.
Absolutely. What is the address of the location so that people can come? Because I'm sure there's gonna be people that are gonna watch this video that know somebody in Utah or live in Utah or live 2 hours away from Utah, whatever, and they're gonna jump in the car because there's not that many of these locations available right now.
There
That's
aren't.
about to change
It's
very, very
about to
quickly.
change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So rather than giving out the actual physical address, and even on the unified website and
Mhm.
EESystem, what
Right.
I'm doing is have them email me. And then once the appointment's set, then we give them the location, we text it to them, and we
Perfect.
confirm, and all of that is, yeah.
Yeah. What is
So
your email address that they can get in touch with you at?
absolutely. So my email is Awaken Energy Lab, all lowercase, Awaken Energy Lab at proton.me. M-E.
Perfect. Perfect. Great. And do you have any partners or you're by yourself on this particular venture?
Well, I don't have any business partners like are, invested with me. I chose to do that on my own because in my feeling, when you're in business, it's kind of like a marriage.
Absolutely.
You have to be on. I mean, I love so many people, and there's so many people I want to go into business with, but I've jumped into business with people before only to go, what did I just do? Right?
Yes.
So I decided, no, I'm going to do this one. This one I'm doing on my own because I would like to someday be able to pass that to my daughter if that's her desire, and I'd like to have other centers,
Okay.
which I'm open to having partners, but it would have to be the right match.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're open to expansion. Any particular areas you're sort of eyeing out right now, or you don't want to make that public?
The ocean.
The ocean. There you go. Now you're talking my language.
Yes.
Vitamin
So
C.
Costa Rica has been on my mind for many, 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 many years. I've only been out there once, but it's definitely calling me. I just, like I said, it would have to be the perfect manifestation where it's Costa Rica and the perfect partner, if I need a partner or whatever, but it would just have to, the stars would have to align, right?
Yeah,
So whether
absolutely.
that's a beautiful Siesta Key, my dad lives in near Siesta Key in Sarasota, Florida. There's one going in there already, so I missed that opportunity, but that's okay. But yes, somewhere by the ocean is what I'd prefer because I'm an ocean person for sure.
Yeah, I would wait. Me personally, I mean, if I could give you some advice here openly, I would definitely
Yeah.
wait until Jasara and Asara becomes the thing. Because right now, if you come to Costa Rica, even pre, this whole thing that happened with the pandemic, you have to understand that you're paying 100% tax on anything that plugs into a wall.
Okay.
So if it costs
Yeah.
$1, it costs $2 in Costa Rica.
Got it.
Yeah, they really hit you hard. So all of this stuff goes away, obviously. So eventually, we're all going to be on a level playing field, like Donald Trump likes to say. And you're not going to pay. You're going to probably, if you buy a Mini Cooper, for example, in the United States, you'll pay the same price in Costa Rica or the Philippines or Panama. So
Right.
I would wait for all. I think we're close. I don't know how close we are, but I hope that we are probably, hopefully, no later than the end of this year. That's because I'm also interested in being at the beach. I love the beach. I was born on the beach. I want to be at the beach. I would love to have a center at the beach.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But
Yeah.
the thing with the beach, I think it's beneficial to have air filtration to filter the salt out of the air. These machines will last a lot longer doing that. So that's important. Keep that in mind. And you have to be air conditioned, et cetera. So we have free energy technology, which is RNSR. We're going to have everything we need to run efficiently. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I don't think we're too far away. We would love to have you down here. Maybe we'll do something together. Who knows?
I would
But,
love that.
yeah. But in any event, anything else you need to tell us about that maybe we may have missed or maybe I didn't ask?
Gosh, I think you've covered a lot. There's one thing I didn't mention. Sometimes we feel like we're losing something in our life when realized down the road that it was really the best thing that could have happened. Another thing that happened to me before moving forward on the center was lost, if you want to say the word lost, or released, maybe released is a better word. I think that's more positive. I released two people in my life that were very, I considered very close to me. One, I considered my best friend. We had been friends for probably about 10 years. And then the other one was the grandmother to my daughter, my ex's mom, who I had known for over 30 years. And I'm not saying I'm not open to something down the road, but it will never be the same. And I think sometimes we hang on to people and situations because we feel like it's the right thing to do, or it's family, so you have to put up with it, whatever, okay? But what I came to realize is that these two relationships I was suffering myself, and because I was suffering, my vibration was lowering. And there's one thing that's more important in my opinion than anything, and that's my vibration. That is over everything and anyone. Because if I'm not vibing at a certain level, I'm not going to attract and manifest. And I'm not talking about a big house and a big car and this and that. And not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying I'm not going to manifest the type of life that I deserve. And I do deserve a good life, but I'm not going to attract that if I'm vibing low. So if you're in a situation where something or someone is dragging you down, you've got to make two choices. You're either going to learn how to vibe high around them regardless, or if that person or situation triggers you so bad that you just can't deal with it, you've got to get out.
Right.
Because I think as a human species, we think that we're supposed to, maybe this was taught to us in religion or whatever, but we're supposed to suffer in order to make others happy. And I don't believe that. If I suffer, everybody around me suffers. I'm not good to anyone.
Yeah.
If I was suffering, I wouldn't be able to help open up a center and bring people to heal. I would be useless.
Sure. You had said something to me earlier that this technology in a way is actually better than med beds. Can you explain that if you don't mind?
Yes, thank you. I was going to bring that up. So when I was watching the interview with Dr. Sandra and Jason, one thing they had mentioned actually was that I think she described the system like almost like a med bed on steroids. And the reason she said that was with a med bed, we can only heal one person at a time. Where with our units, whether it's 16 or 24, 32, whatever, we can literally put 100 people or more in a room at once and heal hundreds of people at a time. So I feel that this technology is way beyond.
Well, you just gave me a viral title, and it's going to the title's going to be "This Technology is Better Than Med Beds." I love it. This is it. Also, have you had anybody that is skeptical as
Oh, yes.
that sort of like contact you via email saying, I don't know about this technology, and were they completely turned around by the time they left for their 2 or 3 hour session?
So I just had my first overnight last night. We do offer overnights, by the way, at our center, where you can spend the entire night there. We do have a full bathroom where you can take a salt bath if you want to before you go home. So I had a couple come in from Wyoming last night, and they were, I would say, open but skeptical. So open meaning they were open to trying it to see what might happen. But there was a lot of, so do you think this really works? And, that kind of thing. Really, really sweet couple. They went to leave today, and this woman, I looked at her and I said, this was at 7 o'clock this morning. I said, are you more of a morning person? And she said, I don't think so. I'm kind of all over the place. I said, because I'm looking at somebody completely different than I saw last night. Like the night before, she wasn't rude or anything. She was just not vibrant. kind of like dull. And I thought, well, maybe it was because it was a 5.5 hour drive. Maybe she was tired. Who knows? This morning, she was bright eyed. Her husband, she has severe arthritis. And that's why her husband wanted her to do this. So he came and spent the night there with her. And I called them today and I said, hey, or texted them. I said, hey, how are you guys feeling? Have you noticed anything different? I'm just curious. And he said, well, he said, Eunice is getting in and out of the truck a lot better than she used to.
Okay. Yeah. You know,
So he has noticed a difference in her.
excellent. Excellent. And you know, people think that this is like a magic wand. I mean, some people are more chronically sick than others. And
Yes.
so it may take a little longer. You might have to do, you know, multiple sessions, etc.
Yes.
Yeah. So listen, I had a great time talking. We're going to say goodbye to the audience. I'm going to hold you over for an extra 10 minutes if you don't mind. But this is great. We're going to do this again because this is important, folks. If you want to get to your dinars and your Zims and your XRP and your XLMs and you want to be healthy, this is the technology of the future. I firmly believe that this is the technology that's going to allow us to live at least 300, 400 years. We don't know that yet because we haven't been able to get into a time capsule and travel into the future. But I believe wholeheartedly because the telomeres just don't get longer on their own unless they're being helped by something, the environment. So this is great. Thank you, Maria, for coming. And guys, if you listened this far, don't forget, she's over in Lehi, Utah, okay? Right on Main Street. Contact her via email. Say your email one more time if you don't mind. And we'll send it back to the audience.
Yeah, it's Awaken Energy Lab at proton.me, M-E.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mel.